Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hi.
It's
Hi.
Trucks. I'm Isaac. That's
I'm
Josh.
Today we're delivering these tires.
Which are not even visible to the naked eye.
They are going to a town called Kingman, right on the California-Arizona border. Am I going the right way? Yes, I think so. Before we get into the real meat of today's trucks, guys, I wanna share some exciting news with my glitch buddies. Oh, what the fuck happened?
You know what happened. Don't even pretend you don't know what happened.
I didn't know it was this tiny little curb. No, I can honestly say I didn't anticipate the tiny little curb. Anyway.
You want to share some news with your buddies, don't you?
Yes, my glitch art friends who are watching the trucks. I discovered a new cheat code in Instagram. I can't be sure that it works on Android, but it definitely works on iOS. You know the structure filter? The thing that makes all the pixels really visible? Normally it's on a 0 to 100 scale, but it turns out you can make it a -50 to 50 scale and do some weird inversions of what Instagram thinks it's supposed to do. All you have to do is set structure to 100 and then do a teensy little adjustment, like tilt the image by 0.05 degrees. Zoom in, whatever you want, and then it'll revert your structure a little bit, and if you turn it all the way down, it'll make the image all weird and a little smoother, and then you can pair that with sharpen. I used it to make these pictures that are flashing before your eyes right now. Isaac saw them earlier. Aren't they pretty cool?
They're pretty cool, Josh.
You can do all kinds of weird stuff just in Instagram. Play with it, you guys. It's so fun.
Josh wants it to be a universally participatory art medium as long as you have a smartphone.
Yeah, I mean, you can do all this neat stuff without ever leaving the app, and
Yep.
man,
It's app-based art.
I love
Art
it.
in app. That was the hook that you chose to draw people into this episode of Trucks.
You
Well,
agreed
guys,
to it
it's
before
only
we
going to
started.
get more esoteric. I didn't even so much as agree to it as you said that that's what was going to happen.
You
and I
said the
didn't
words,
resist.
"That sounds good."
I do say that a lot. Sometimes I even listen to what I'm responding to when I say
Whatever, man. I opened the episode on my beautiful art, and now,
that. Yeah,
now
no,
we're
that was
gonna
pretty
talk
good.
about something
We've
else.
reached a more highfalutin phase, and it's actually kind of appropriate because the man we're talking about is a fan of glitch art himself, or was in one of his many incarnations. His blog used to be called Glitch Opera.
We're here to talk about the problematic fave himself.
Oh, it's Mo Muss. It's Nicholas Curry. The man who, well, I'm going to start off, I think, with a little bit of a capsule bio of the Mo Man.
Go for it.
So when Momus was a youngster, he was a Scottish youngster. He was an upper-class Scottish youngster. His accent does not betray to an American listener a hint of Scottishness.
Yes.
So he was, clearly from the highfalutin classes.
There's a clip where you can hear his dad, and he definitely sounds it.
Yep. And so this Poncy young man, I mean, like one of the Ponciest.
Yeah.
He is going to uni. He's going to university because he's in the UK.
What did he study anyway?
I forget. Probably something like English.
That would make sense.
He was a man of letters, I imagine.
Classics? That would make some sense.
Momus was going to college.
Yeah.
But he desperately wanted to go to art school instead, and he would spend all of his college time mooning around the art school and hanging out with the art students because that's where he felt the most at home. And he developed an insurmountable crush on a waitress named Paula.
Really?
Yes.
Why? It's very fitting that the intro to this artist would be about his fucking love life, but I'm curious about how that information came to light. Like, this is just not what you expect to hear, you know? You're telling me about... Normally when we do an intro, it's like, here's the kind of art he makes, but now you're telling me the name of his first crush. All right, go on.
But Al, Gary, if you listen, there's a difference between your Beatrice and my Paula. She's anonymous and now a waitress. It's comic but not divine. The tragedy is no one's dying. Should you be so lucky like Saint Sebastian?
Oh my goodness. How do you know...
Because I've done my research.
Very, very good.
That was one of two songs that he wrote about Paula.
Oh my god.
Because it turns out that much later in his life, he met Paula again at a party in Islington.
Holy shit.
And they tried to have sex, but they couldn't.
Why not?
Because either mine was too big or hers was too small. But this into that, it just wouldn't go.
And so we're just assuming that these lyrics are totally non-fictional, or do you know this?
I know this.
Okay.
At least he's claimed this in interviews.
All right.
That song is called Tragedy and Farce.
Welcome to the episode where we talk about Momus and his relationship with Paula.
History is played the first time as tragedy, the second as farce, he says in this song.
Pretty good.
Anyway.
Good lyricist, this Momus.
So, Momus dropped out of college and basically took up with the remnants of a band that had been called Joseph K, a Scottish post-punk band called Joseph K. Under Momus's young leadership, they became the Happy Family. And they released a concept album about a totalitarian future called The Man on Your Street, about a detergent salesman who rises to become dictator, if I recall correctly. Mm-hmm. It was not well received.
I'm surprised it was received at all.
Well, 4AD put it out, but 4AD were in for any kind of romantic garbage.
Is this before, after, or during he was a writer for Wired, back when Wired was a cool magazine? On the techno fringe,
like 15 years before that.
Okay, wow, we've got a lot of life story to get through here.
The point being that Momus quit that band because nobody cared and embarked on a solo career. He started his solo career doing elaborate acoustic guitar songs, which were like pun-filled riffs on the Bible. Which is his first album, and also an EP of Jacques Brel covers, which should give you an idea of what kind of ground we're tramping here. But then he, after that album didn't get any attention either, he rebooted himself as a electro sex pest, and that's where the Momus that we know and love began.
He rebooted himself as like a Billboard middling one-hit wonder with hairstyle of the devil.
The hairstyle of the devil, which I think probably has its. Is most famous for possibly inspiring Beck to write Devil's Haircut.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think I think that I could just be making that up. But
I think in many circles, Momus is known as the guy who wrote the transphobic song about Wendy Carlos.
Yes, who sued him for it.
Yes.
Thus forcing him to take it off of the album that it was from. The point of the album it was from, which was called The Little Red Songbook, was that he was writing little poison pen letters about a lot of people, real imagined people he knew, people he didn't.
Sure.
Wendy happened to hear it and didn't like it. And so UK libel laws being what they are.
It has to be said about Momus.
Yes.
That... He's a bad man.
Is he?
It's like partly it's his persona, but also partly it's real. I mean,
no question.
Some of it is songs about like, if you call me gay, I'll sleep with your lady, and some of it is songs about statutory rape. And we can assume that some of these things are in character, but some of it not so much. His habit of blaming his heartache on the woman is probably kind of real. That tends to come off as real, maybe with some hint of self-awareness.
I mean, that's like the least unique thing about Momus.
Of course.
Everybody
but he
who is a dude does that.
Particularly, like, there's something particularly hard to take about it.
A number of his early songs are like openly misogynistic.
Sure.
Like Murder is the Hope of Women.
Yeah.
Or Paper Raps Rock. And he gained a lot of. The thing is that what he tends to do is he tends to put whatever is in his brain down, where we can hear it forever, and then later he will go on to either mitigate or apologize or reframe or do whatever he needs to do to address that narrative. Like he followed up Hairstyle of the Devil several years later with Shoe Size of the Angel, which is a merciless attack on his own persona in Hairstyle of the Devil.
I see.
So it's one of those things where his own expression of whatever he happens to be feeling is of paramount importance. He is extremely honest. He feels a lot of problematic things and is not afraid to share them with the world.
Sure. And it results in pop music, which is just really like nothing else out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think a major reason that he would not be acceptable on Tumblr right now is the impassioned defense of art about basically art about child porn,
Yes.
which was off of the Philosophy of Momus. That's the cabinet of Kuniyoshi Kaneko.
And he's continued along with that subject for many, many years. Off his recent album, there's a good one about how in near future Germany, he's a criminal because he doesn't want to have sex with the preteens, and they call him
not preteens.
Oh yes,
not preteens.
Teens.
Let's give the man some credit.
Girls in their mid to late teens, is I believe the lyric.
The exact line. Right. So why are we even entertaining this dude rather than excoriating him because of his incredibly problematic tendencies,
Yes,
Josh?
it's because he's a genius.
Hey, there we go. So, have we come around to the idea that genius excuses poor behavior? Or is there any poor behavior that we can point to? And here's the rub. Is there anything outside of his songs that we can point to that suggests that he's a terrible person?
It's hard. I mean, without knowing him, it's hard, right? I mean, there is some questionable behavior that we can point to, like his habit of filming and uploading videos of young Japanese performers.
These are, yeah.
He's not the only one to do it, but when it's him doing it, it takes on a questionable air,
Which is, again, completely intentional.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And
him bopping around at that show was one of the single most hilarious things I've ever seen on YouTube.
Like, he's the problematic artist, not only in that he's an artist who is problematic, but in that he makes an art out of being problematic. And I don't know. I don't blame you if you don't want to listen to him.
He was singing songs about being a creepy old man when he was in his early 20s.
Right.
Like he knew from the very beginning that this was going to be his
And
art.
not that he really is a creepy old man. In my opinion, he's really come into his own.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this was the age that he always should have been at some point. Like, everything in his early material that's about trying to get famous and failing, and it's about, being a frustrated, pathetic, figure, just like, now that he is that, he's achieved a kind of synergy, which is like him capering. The capering that he does in his videos these days is just... It's the culmination of an entire career's aesthetic striving.
Right. And it should be said that the fact that he's a creep isn't the only reason we like him. He's also just an excellent songwriter, and this is kind of the formula that a lot of his songs work by, is that they suck you in by being just really earwormy, catchy songs with like very clever production. Mm-hmm. And then, it just so happens that you're bopping along to a song about this, that. What's a good example that I haven't already listed? You got one?
Oh God, I don't know.
About how it's a bad thing if you fall in love with him. He just wants to have sex with you. There's one.
Probably.
Yeah.
The song about strangling people in an elevator is not actually very catchy.
Sure. There's a song about a guitar teacher, who's perving on his little girl student. It's a good.
Yeah, that's classic early. I am trying to provoke you moments.
Yes. But it also gives him an air of authority when he sings about like other people who are terrible.
Yeah, which is one of his favorite things to do. Yes. And that song about like the Call the Guitar Lesson is based on a painting by Malthus.
I didn't know that.
Which depicts the exact thing.
It's very helpful that you have an encyclopedic knowledge of this guy's work, because I sure don't.
Yeah, no. But I mean, that is a commentary on an earlier piece of art, as is much of the stuff that he does. He definitely sees himself as sort of a cupbearer in a proud tradition of like ludicrously perverted arts.
Yes, the name Momus means something like
it's a minor Roman god of levity.
Right. But there's so much of his work, and kind of the idea for this Trex in the first place was that we would compare and contrast our different favorite periods of Momus.
Yeah, it's like that he was my favorite since I've been in college, and like I introduce him to people sometimes when I feel like they will not think that I'm a terrible person for doing so. Mm-hmm. And I've found some luck with some people, but Josh really likes Momus, I would say.
Yeah.
And
I don't love all the same stuff as you do.
That is unusual, but yet that's what I'm getting at.
Right.
That I think that we respond to completely different things in his work. Well, maybe not completely. There's definitely some overlap.
Yeah, totally.
So, like, give me an example of a favorite Momus song of yours and what it is that you like about it.
A favorite of mine recently is his rework of Heliogabalus. which is a song about, if you don't know the story, Heliogabalus, a teen, I think, Roman emperor.
Yeah.
Who basically was terrible, did nothing but debauchery while he was at...
The song says that he wasn't terrible, Josh.
Well,
he
yes.
said he wasn't to blame.
But it is an...
He was beautiful and sexy and entirely without guilt.
It is an unreliable narrator trying to tell you that Heliogabalus was great. My favorite thing. Like, the guy says that he's making it... Why isn't this truck moving? Honk, honk, honk. He says he's making a quilt about Heliogabalus to express why he wasn't to blame, and the quilt seems to take the form of the song that you are hearing.
Correct.
And it's very well delivered, this particular song. Like, he puts on this old kind of boisterous, deep-voiced man singing voice that he doesn't always break into, but he's very, very good at it. And the other thing about Momus is that he doesn't always try to deliver things well, but in this one he totally does. And my favorite thing is the first time the chorus comes around, he really breaks out the vocal chops with, "He was blonde, he had blue eyes."
Yeah.
And then the second time around, that just transforms straight up into, "He was beautiful and sexy." But
entirely without guilt, as I intend to demonstrate
right here in this quilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I like the storyteller Momus a little bit.
Yeah.
Not exclusively, but I like it when there is signs of effort. I like Momus, the creative producer. I feel like Momus is one of the very few musicians we have nowadays who's really exploring the possibility space. Like, I feel like in the 80s and the 90s he was kind of cresting along the
he was behind the curve, like trying to catch up.
He was riding the technological wave like most of everybody else. But like nowadays, I feel in the 2010s and it's kind of started in the 2000s, you can do anything practically when it comes to music production, and not that many people are really just going all out and trying shit. But Momus really is. He's experimenting right now with this really weird sound collage kind of thing where he just puts things together in ways that don't sound right but also kind of do. He did a whole album with Japanese folk tune backings, like, and the way, I mean, just completely straight up, he did a song about how this is obviously cultural appropriation,
right, using
Japanese folk tunes. Like, one of them is about a Greek philosopher with Japanese folk song.
That's another one of your favorites.
Yeah, I love that one. Just the straightforward lyrics delivered in this really angry way. He also said that motion is the only kind of change. Just with a picture-in-picture. This is the other thing. He's a very good video producer as well.
Yeah, he does the videos. Yeah.
So I like new Momus. I think he's really is that my exit right there?
Yes.
Okay.
You fucked up, my friend.
Well, we'll figure out what to do about this. I think
perfectly motionless on the I-15.
I think that he has come into his own as an outsider artist. I think now that he gets about 500 views for every video,
right?
He just kind of does whatever, and
it
doesn't always work.
It is actually completely unfiltered, whereas the other stuff was always like in some way pushing against.
Yeah, you know. And for a long time there was this latent feeling that he was still trying to get a hit out there.
Yeah, maybe get famous. Get famous. From his one the one album that kind of got noticed in America, Ping Pong, has a 8-minute slow burning track that is the penultimate track about how he wants to be famous.
I can and will talk more about my favorite Momus, but I think it's your turn.
Cool. Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing because I got into Momus before any of the stuff that is Josh's favorite Momus existed, by over a decade, I think, before any of that stuff existed. And the stuff that I was responding to was his old stuff. Thankfully, I got to hear his old stuff with a period of that's a decision that you've made. Thankfully, I got to hear because his really...
Don't you see what's happening here, dude?
No, that's not a human. That is a computer or automaton, an artificial person.
Go on.
Right. Anyway,
it's Balloon Country.
The first Momus album that I heard was Slender Sherbet, which was him basically re-recording a bunch of the stuff from his early days because he no longer had the rights to the original recordings. which meant that it was a combination of his old school songwriting and my favorite period of Momus production, which is this sort of trip hop stuff that he did in the...
He had a real talent for the 90s.
Yeah, for the 90s aesthetic.
90s sound, yeah.
Yeah. The sort of Time Lord philosophy of Momus period.
Yeah.
And so I really dug that because that was kind of my introduction to that kind of like stuff. I hadn't like listened to Massive Attack or Sneaker Pimps or any of that stuff, so I was sort of hearing this kind of cheap bastardized version through Momus, but also because he was singing about things that I didn't know anybody was singing about.
Yeah. And
I was like, as a young pervert myself, I was like, hey, I feel recognized and welcomed by this terrible human being. Let's figure out what this is about. But like ultimately, beyond my like first sort of, really, because I was young, I was into Japan, which was, what he was into. I was into all this sort of romantic death stuff that he was into at the time.
God, there's so much to talk about when it comes to Momus as a white dude singing about white dudes obsessed with Japan while being obsessed with Japan.
Yeah, no, and I was a white dude obsessed with Japan and not particularly critical about it myself at the time. And so I just sort of drank it in, man. And, now I look back on that stuff with a fondness which is inextricably linked to the fact that it is from my childhood.
Yes.
Like from my formative years.
It's very rare that you can find a musician who will say to you, I was like you when you were a terrible boy.
Yeah.
Here's some songs about it.
The record of his terrible boyness is clear to see.
Yeah.
And is, and has not really ever ceased, but has become way more reflective and, cranky.
But also way more indulgent. And like he has not backed down from being the problematic Japanese man.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, at the point where I'm at now, I think the thing that I appreciate the most about Momus is that he can write a pop hook.
Yeah.
And 100%. So few people can do that.
Yeah.
And it's such a thing that is like at the bottom of his bag of tricks that he rarely bothers to do it. Like, listen, there is so much Momus music, and like listening to Momus's music is the art of being like, okay, how hard is he trying on this one?
Right.
Is he digging here, or is he just like doing sort of Momus paint by numbers with nonsense lyrics,
sure.
On top of a looped track that he stole from somewhere. And but like a song like Hang Low, do you know Hang Low?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like
that's a song with like the loveliest lyrics. It's like there's a word for the thing that those lyrics are doing with their poetic structure. Reorganizing lines that have appeared earlier and putting them in new combinations.
Yeah.
And it's this lovely melody with this fluttery guitar thing, and just noise keeps pouring over it, making it harder to listen to.
It's great, right? Because, because I interpret noise, that kind of noise feels good to me, just on a basic level, which is a thing why Momus is kind of an ideal musician for me in a lot of ways, because I love sweet melodies. I love sort of the classical kind of compositional style that comes into some of his stuff, like, Lovely Tree.
Right.
Keep lovely tree your leaves in winter time. Stand strongly in your bark of love. Bum, 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 bum. Not everybody can do that.
Sure.
And it's like, he was like, I've heard this melody in a dream. That's what this song is. It's like it's the fact that he can be so nasty.
Yeah.
It's like the moments when he chooses to be pretty are like my favorite moments, I think.
We feel the same on that. Like I think my top Momus song is Masks of Bebko, which is kind of one of those. It's definitely got a lovely melody to it. It's one of the Japanese folk record ones. But it's built on this kind of horrible, scratchy kaleidoscope of these old Japanese songs that come together in a very intriguing whole, but it's not the easiest thing to listen to. But you can tell that, like, in there is this lovely, lovely thing. And it also helps that, like, frequently, not always, but frequently when he writes the genuinely lovely songs, they're kind of these regretful, what's the word I'm looking for? Well,
it's his misspent
Yes, yes, it's...
I mean, it's actually probably the best summed up in another very lovely song, which is also extremely creepy, which is A White Oriental Flower.
Yeah. But yeah, Mask of Beppo in particular is particularly about feeling regretful that he has, like, lost his identity. He's been subsumed into his persona.
Yeah.
And
a lot of his very pretty stuff is about is like, I've basically sold my authenticity to the devil by being this thing that I am.
Right.
And by completely allowing myself to become a slave to my worst instincts. You know.
Which is, God. I'm flooring it.
It's not gonna do anything. You are absolutely stationary, my buddy. You're rocking back and forth. Why don't you just back out completely and continue on your merry way?
I need to sleep over there.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just gonna scrape my truck against the fucking gas pump.
Alright, that's fine.
But yes, it's kind of a wonderful and affecting puzzle figuring out what he's being sincere about in songs like that. And one of the things it's easiest to suspect he's being sincere about is himself.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the stuff that you disagree about. I know that you've been annoyed at me for my love of the Song of Norway.
How does that one go?
We stayed in, out of our heads, sitting on the corner of you. It's about David Bowie and Hermione. What's her face?
I don't know the song, dude. I don't know why I would be annoyed with you for liking it. I find that the stuff you like with Momus that I generally don't is...
Give me some examples so we have some stuff to...
What is the album? Auto Spooky as a whole. That one just doesn't kind of do it for me.
Oh, but why not? It's one of the best ones.
It's clearly got a lot going on. It's just I don't find it particularly listenable. It's one of those really simple things. It's with Momus, I never doubt that what he's doing has some value to it. But it just doesn't do the thing to my ears. Which speaks to his range as a musician.
Yeah, it's like that one is one of the less noisy ones of the recent time, which is like, and I really like the noisy stuff. I was gonna say one of the things I love about the Song of Norway is that it's a really like almost humorously dumb riff. It's like dum ba dum. Dum ba dum, dum ba dum. It's like doo-wop, you know.
Yeah.
But by the time the song is over, the sounds that he is using to hit those notes are so like tortured that it's just like being smashed over the head.
I do have
at the same time, there's this dumb detuned guitar plunking alongside it.
I do have a hard time with the sarcastic melodies.
See, I have an infinite capacity to enjoy sarcastic melodies. This is why you don't like Fang Island and I do.
But I do like Alex Lukashevsky, who totally does that. So I don't know. It's intangible. I think I can't think of anything that Momus has done that I would outright point to and say that's bad.
I could
maybe
definitely think of a few.
Yeah, and that's probably because I've heard more. When I bounce off Momus, I just go look for a different part of his oeuvre.
I just get tired of hearing about his penis.
Yeah, totally.
Just after a while, I'm just like.
After a while,
that's enough of his penis. For
I think
a little while.
Does have to be said. Yeah, like after a while, his whole nasty thing does cease to be amusing. Like
and just gets to be like you're marinating in his ick, which is I guess part of the point, like the come down at the other side of it.
Yeah. Like Bibliothèque is an album with some of his like most lush production ideas, and I love it for that reason. But the lyrics just kind of are a little bit fuck you for breaking up with me, like over and over and over and over. And I'm sad about it.
It's a breakup album. Like I feel like that isn't a particularly Momus thing. It's like halfway through Hippopotamomus when he's like there's a song that is basically just about a monkey that likes to masturbate.
Sure.
And I'm like, you've made your point, and you're also committing career suicide, which I appreciate, because you clearly don't actually want to be famous.
Yeah.
But, I don't need to be sitting here watching you do this exercise in sort of couch vulgarity. I don't need to be watching your 120 Days of Sodom or whatever it is.
Yeah. But I think he's vital. I think he is.
I think he's one of the greats, and I think that he is destined and has in fact been entirely determined to never let that be fully.
If you have a strong
acknowledged.
stomach for gross dude stuff, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah,
if you don't, I understand.
And it's like, listen to Ping Pong.
Ping pong. What's on ping pong?
I Am a Kitten
How
is on
the
ping pong.
Oh man, I have to. Let's give this a quick shot.
Yeah.
Let's try this one. It's gonna be a nightmare.
I'm a Kitten is on ping pong. Space Jews is on ping pong.
Oh, Space Jews.
Like
I don't know that song. I don't know Space Jews.
Mr. Spock on the Enterprise can be our guide. Vulcans to our space Jews. Jews from outer space. Meant to walk among us to improve the human race.
I mean, someone had to say it. It's true. I mean, Leonard Nimoy Spock was just a space Jew.
Ping pong is at moments at his most whimsical, and there are things to enjoy when he's just being completely whimsical, which he just does not do anymore. But that's fine.
He seems sad. He has seemed sad lately.
Yeah.
Momus has written books.
Neither of us have written. I mean, I feel I've been on a certain level too intimidated to try. Not only because he is sufficiently obscure that I would have had to pay like lots of money to get my hands on them and read them. But
yeah, oh, dude, I feel like I'm multi-track drifting here.
You can. Oh, that's a cruel gesture.
I can't believe how anyone like parking backwards at a 90-degree angle. Yeah, sure. I'm sure someone can do it. I'm sure someone can, and I bet they're thinking that I'm a total idiot right now for not understanding this basic geometrical shit. But
yeah.
What is even the subject of his books?
Well, there's the Book of Scotland's, which is like it's an Italo Calvino-esque record of like hundreds of alternate Scotlands.
Some of them are like straight cultural analysis of some form, right?
There's the Book of Jokes, which is like a Will Selfie sort of the most horrible things happen to a person kind of a book. And it's like Job essentially. Cruel God. It's very, very Momusy.
He's good with words. I bet.
Yeah.
I bet there's some value in these things.
I mean, he's a really good writer. There are no two ways about it. I find his criticism largely useless.
Yes, I've only heard his criticism of himself, and I did find it largely useless.
But
that's another thing. Like, he understands that.
Yeah.
There's this video he uploaded not too long ago where it's like he unearthed a lecture he gave on himself in the 90s, and the video component is like a little CGI model of himself falling asleep at his desk.
He is his own harshest critic. But like, God help us. The Momuses that come from the time when Momus took himself seriously are beautiful in a certain way, but it's an acquired taste. God, his video output today, as good as his video output today is, if you ever go back and watch the music videos that he made for himself back in the day.
Yeah.
Whoo!
Yeah, pretty hard to take. Very the self-styled pop star Momus.
There's a song called there's a song called something like "Trust Me, I'm a Doctor," which is exactly what you think it is, right. And the video is just like him dressed as a doctor with a scantily clad lady on an examining table. Yeah. Yeah, it's so good that he's the blossom has dropped and the king is playing the shamisen at this point.
Let us know if you check him out. Give us a trip report.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'll link his YouTube channel. There's a lot you can go explore.
You can just click on something, and if you're not completely grossed out, click on something else.
Yeah.
A favorite song. Okay, favorite Momus song of all.
Mask of Bepco.
Mask of Bepco. Yeah, mine is probably. Oh shit! I can't actually answer that question. That's a real shame.
Give me a list and I'll put it on the screen right now.
Okay.
Well then, all right. Let's see if we can get a decent recording of it with less noise on the piano and more singing.
I can see Japan. I can see Japan. I can see the mountain tops and I can see the villages and I can see your images and baby, best of all, I can see your love. I can see Japan. I can see Japan. I can see the mountain tops and I can see the villages festival.